Hey, what's up, everybody? It is officially starting to get to be that time of the year where we deal with the trade window. If you guys are unfamiliar, in between the splits of RLCS, obviously we have now found out who our 1v1 players are going to be. We'll be recapping that here shortly. But now that we've kind of figured out everything that is to happen with who's going to the major and all that kind of stuff, teams are kind of at that point where it's like we either need to make a change, we're happy with what we've got, but at least let's see what options are out there. So in today's video, we're going to do a couple things. Number one, I've got 6 roster rumors, changes, things that have been talked about publicly that we will be discussing. I'm also going to talk about some teams that I think should be in consideration. A couple things do not change no matter how many times we do this. The first one, my roster document. Check out the roster document, !RLCS rosters for everybody in chat. Otherwise, it is in the description down below. I will have links to this. I will update these as frequently as I possibly can. I will also talk about general news and stuff. We do have the Season 18 details coming, with that releasing on the 14th. We will be talking about that in a future video as well. So if you want to make sure you don't miss out on that stuff, like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments, all that kind of stuff. But we'll have full details on everything as well. With that said, let's actually go into the rosters themselves and the changes that we've seen, whether it be confirmed or rumored. And as a reminder, confirmations on the left, rumors on the right, things that have not officially locked in, things that have been stated publicly. Hopefully this works because Twitter's been down all day today. The first one, we got this one pretty early. The Kansas City Pioneers are rumored to be dropping their roster, which I think is to no surprise. Obviously, we knew JNAPS is retiring after their final performance, which they did put up a good show, top 8, but unfortunately weren't able to get it done. The Pioneers, I think, got in for relatively cheap, and now that they only have Aqua and Eris together, it kind of makes it difficult to be like, well, who's our third going to be? Are they even going to stick? What's going to happen? So, not surprising to see Kansas City Pioneers maybe back out. Maybe they will come back in and pick up a team like Tech in their new iteration. A little bit of a spoiler there. Or one of those other teams, 9 Lives, things that are like more in the opportunity. I can also tell you there is some rumors of other teams that have only signed their roster for 1 split and may not be renewing, so maybe some options there. Maybe Pioneers can get another team for relatively cheap and stick around, but we'll have to wait and see. With that in mind, we do have one of the teams, and this is kind of the way that things go, like I mentioned, where as soon as a team doesn't qualify for the major, they have that tough conversation with their staff and their players and go, is this what we want to continue with or not? And it looks like Tech has confirmed that Evo will no longer be with the team. It is still calm and talk, and they are looking for a new third based upon what availability options are out there. Right now, it's relatively limited, but you just never know as these things develop. There is also the possibility of teams that go to the major will also still make roster changes, although unlikely. But if a team goes to the major and they bomb out, say they go 0-2, 0-3, whatever it is, they don't make it out of Swiss. Hey, sure, we made top 16, but our goal is to win the whole thing. There is a possibility that things change. So again, there is a chance that things may happen sooner than later, but I know you don't want to limit yourself. Like sometimes you have a tryout in a scrim and you're like, man, that feels great. Like that just feels really good. We're going to stick with that. But it's always best to be like, hey, let's keep our options open. So I assume they're going to be trying out anyone and everyone, seeing which one feels the best, both chemistry wise, which one takes the best direction, which one's the most communicative, and then they move forward with that. I personally believe, based upon the next news we'll be talking about, that this team is probably one of the most sought after for opportunities outside of the other one that we're going to be talking about, just due to RLCS points. Right now, this team is kind of middle of the rankings. All it takes is one series or one good event to bump them back in conversation for Worlds. So that's where we're at for now. Up next, we do have, with Evo going elsewhere, he has said that the combination of that Pioneers team is going to be taking over. So he does have Eris. It is Evo and Ays looking for a third. They do have 0 RLCS points to their name. Not the end of the world. All it takes is 1 split to really push yourself ahead if you have performances, but a lot of talent. Like, I don't think there's any conversation to disagree that Evo and Ays on the same team is a lot of talent to work with, but the third concerns me just because it's like, I look at this team and I go, okay, not saying it's necessarily like immaturity, but there has been conversations about lack of communication, maybe a little bit of ego, this and that. And like, I don't know the exact reason why Tech let go of Evoh, because he is a very talented player, but clearly it wasn't working. They made the decision. So with you going and finding another person who's very, very talented, you got to, one, find someone that can chemistry-wise make sure that this makes sense. In my opinion, these are your two offensive players. You got to find someone maybe a bit more defensive, a little bit more rotationally heavy, someone that's a little bit methodical in the way that they pass and set things up, kind of like a glue. Like, I personally think every team wants an Itachi, but like a player like that, I think would make this team really thrive. But based upon the preconceived notions or the conversations that I've had surrounding these players, is that spot going to be enticing? Maybe they find a new kid on the block and give them an... I don't know how this one's going to go, but I do think there is a lot of talent on this team. This, to me, is going to be like upset team of Split 2. You're going to go against them and be like, well, we should win because we have a more cohesive system and we feel really confident about our play style. This team is going to be one that just slaps you in the face, and it's going to be a tough match if they stick. So we'll see how that goes. After that, we do have rumors coming from RLTV. I think this is Flitz in crew that does RLTV. But SSG is supposedly letting go of Frosty and will not be playing with Frosty next split. Reveal and Scribbles are currently in the process of tackling and trying to get Kofer, who is on the 9 Lives roster, which then causes some more chaos. Frosty becomes a free agent. Do we see Evoh, Frosty, and Ays? Tech becomes Talk, Calm, and Frosty. Maybe 9 Lives becomes Frosty, Chicago, and Hoxer. Who knows? But a lot of dominoes, a lot of moving parts happening all at once. Now, there are some things that have been made public that are also part of the rumor, so I don't know how much I want to speak to it. But there is some personal matters going on with Frosty, which is why the team is saying, hey, we want to step away and go a different direction. Whether those things are true or not, I do not know. But it sounds like it is a personal thing and not a gameplay thing. Frosty, to me, probably performed the best on the team, but I also know that both Scribbles has the ability to pop off and look like the best at any given time, and Reveal, who in my opinion, is like one of the new gen type, like he reminds me of like a Percy, a Rise, an Itachi, like a really good midfield presence, a really good like game sense, game IQ type player. Like new gen Mist is the way I would describe it. Reveal just has a great understanding of the game. He's a guy that like you build around. But losing Frosty, who was, many would agree, is their like number one mechanical player. At least like on a day-to-day basis, like he was the most consistent. He had a really good split, in my opinion. To me, that's not a gameplay thing. It's a personal thing, and I don't know why. So rumors, not confirmations, some personal things going on, some in a very illegal thing, if it is true. Don't know the details, but yeah. SSG with the spot open. That's the team that's the closest to making the major right now. So pretty crazy stuff. Pretty crazy stuff if that does open up. With that in mind, we then go to our next one, which is kind of changing. So after the split ended and 9 Lives didn't make it, Hoxer almost immediately said, hey, I'm LFT. As soon as the matches ended and everything went on, he's like, yo, mutually splitting ways with 9 Lives. I didn't feel comfortable in this situation. I'm trying to find a different team. To which my brain immediately goes, okay, well, Tech would be a great option. I think Hoxer, Talk, and Calm would be an incredible team. I look at, okay, now that we have Ays and Evoh, probably not that. I don't think that would go well. Hoxer, Scribbles, Reveal. Maybe that's an option. Or, from what we've been hearing in the rumor mill, Hoxer and Kofer didn't align in their playstyle. Kofer is probably going to SSG. So did Chicago and Hoxer quick hit the Control-Z undo button and try to find a third. A lot of possibilities. A lot of different possibilities. Selfishly, I would love to see Hoxer join Calm and Talk. I think it would provide some good stability to that team. I think it would alleviate a lot of the captain role off of Calm. I think Talk would thrive in that environment. Hoxer has always been a pretty level-headed kid. I haven't seen any drama or anything like that. He seems like he's very communicative. Everybody I've talked to at Space Station absolutely adores him. So, like, Sounds like a match made in heaven type thing. But if the issue wasn't Chicago and he's like, hey, I just didn't like playing with Kofor, it didn't work out, then maybe they stick. Maybe we try to find a new third. And then does that entice someone to leave? Because if I'm a player and I go, okay, this tech thing has been good, but 9 Lives has more points. They're closer to making worlds. They've been one step away from it. That's 2/3 the former SSG team that made a top 8 run at Worlds just a year ago. Maybe I join that roster. Maybe we see Talk leave Tech. Maybe we see Com leave Tech and go join Chicago and Hoxer. That to me is a very viable squad. Very interested to see. So as Tommy's saying in the chat, and I agree wholeheartedly, there is a lot of looking for thirds. There's a lot of duos that are looking for that final piece of the puzzle. And once that happens, then you will see the remaining leftovers kind of come together and make a team. So a lot of moving parts in North America. Again, reminders. You've got 9 Lives, which could either be Chicago solo going elsewhere or Hoxer and Chicago sticking together. That's the 9 Live situation. You have Tech, which is Calm, and Talk looking for a third. You have Space Station potentially saying, hey, Frosty's out. We're bringing in Kofor. Maybe Kofor doesn't go to Space Station. He goes somewhere else. Because Kofor had a good split too. A lot of moving parts. A lot of options here. Last but not least, the biggest one, and one that we've all kind of alluded to. Right now, rumor mill is that Gentlemates are already looking to make a change. Seiko is expected to be the one they continue to build around. And they're looking to replace either Juicy or Redosin with Eugen. You guys don't know Eugen, French player, very, very, very talented player. Just needs that kind of step up, next man up type mentality on a roster with some veterans. Selfishly, I think you're probably going to get Seiko, Juicy, and Eugen. But I do think you have too much of the same in that roster, which causes some concerns as well, which is why I'm glad to see that they are trying out, from what is rumored, both iterations. Whether what happens or not, I don't know. At the end of the day, Eugen's got to feel comfortable in that environment as well. I think for Eugen's perspective, it's a chance to join a massive organization and get paid for doing what I love. And who knows? Maybe Eugen ends up being the star player and then they build around him. You just never know. But it is good to see that the young talent is getting that call up. I just don't know what they're going to end up being, because I do think there is a lot of same on that roster. Maybe Juicy and Eugen are the ones that lead the charge and say kind of sit back and cook like he did on, was it Endpoint? Was his first team ever, or wherever he started? I forget. Potentials. There's a lot of potentials out there. So we'll see how things iterate. We'll see how things play out. But yeah, that's the only one in Europe that we have as of yet. And I can tell you guys there's a whole lot more to come. As soon as we start seeing things finalize, or we start seeing that one domino piece go, the thing we haven't talked about, and to kind of wrap up this video real quick, teams that I think need to. Basically, if you're not making the major, you should be in consideration. That's like a super simple answer. If you didn't make the major, you should at least consider it. But if I'm Space Station and I open up the door, that's going to be very enticing. I think 9 Lives definitely needed to do something. Although I think 9 Lives was super close to make the major. I think Tech needs to consider something. Shopify, without a doubt, needs to consider something. There's a lot of teams in there that I think should definitely be in the conversation. As for Europe, I think 100% Start Point, Mates, Ascend, Redemption, Caliant, find a way to refine and strengthen. There's got to be something that you can make out of that, because there is clear gaps, I think, between the top 5 in each region. I think K-Corp, Vitality, Dignitas, GK, and NIP, great. NRG, Ultimates, Gen G, Complexity, Space Station, solid rosters. But below that, we start to see some problems. Sure, 100% is talented, guys, but is 100% winning a major? No. I just don't see it. So I think there's some competitive rosters in there, and by all means, I think Pirates on a Boat, Deleted and stuff, they're competitive, but are they going to win the whole shebang? No, they're not. So how can you strengthen your roster? That's kind of the mentality that you have to have. You got to be a little cutthroat, or you see it through. We've seen it work for Gen G, albeit the very last second, but they proved it works. So we'll see. That's what we've got. A lot of roster stuff starting to build and develop. As you guys know, I'll do my best to keep you guys up to date. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. Check out the roster document in the description. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.